BYDFi is a crypto exchange on desktop and mobile where you can spot trade, futures trade, use leverage tokens, and copy the trades of top trade. There's hundreds of crypto available on their spot exchange, as well as a free test account so you can practice futures trading without getting wrecked. BYDFi.
Good morning, everybody. Right, let's evaluate the damage then, shall we? Let's have a little look at what the hell happened yesterday. So, after the CPI Wednesday, things have been sort of drooping for traditional markets. We're talking S&P, NASDAQ, Dow Jones especially. Dixie going up, all of this, we started to see the telltale signs of it. And obviously, the right thing to do would be to have reduced position size, especially leading into the halving as well when you're talking about Bitcoin. Yesterday we saw that move for, let's just focus on S&P for a moment, down to the 50 simple moving average on the daily, which is where we've managed to find some support, right? So basically this little skinny purple line, $5,123.40 to be precise is where we closed. So look, the chances of us finding a bounce around here towards the top of the Bollinger Band is likely, so it's like less than $100 move. It's not huge, it's not massive, but if we were to see this maybe Monday or Tuesday, that's normal. But then to expect a rejection from there is quite likely because this is a Bollinger Band strategy. You expect to see, and we already did in a way, see a move up to the Bollinger Band there itself. So basically we're downtrending on the S&P already. So that's a downtrend in the making. And probably you could almost pretty much confirm it, to be honest. And so you'd be looking for, if anything, another move back up to that area, and then sort of down to make a new lower low. So this is the consolidation that we've all been waiting for pretty much since December. It's not 100%. And nothing is 100% obviously, but it looks like that's the case. And obviously with the Dixie breaking out as well, 106 now, way above the resistance level, we'll be trending up to probably towards these areas, 106.7, 107, and maybe 107 to 108. So small increments, but a trend is confirmed and is continuing. So looks like further downside is going to be the case across the board for everybody, which is actually a good thing. Looking at the Bitcoin dominance here, also broken out. Finding a bit of a wick on it at the moment, but again, it's broken out now. We've had this top here with a top here, and we broke out. We also were struggling with this area. We broke out, retested it, and moved back up. So the dominance chart is breaking out, which is also a good thing as well for those of us with the cash to spare. Because again, we want to buy lower prices, right? We want to buy lower prices. If you want to make big money, you need to buy lower, right? I say it each and every video, I feel like a broken record. Don't get used to high prices. Patience is key. And the first major area to think about reaccumulating altcoins based on dominance chart is 57.5% dominance, which is only a little bit further away from where we're at right now. Obviously, don't go blindly into altcoins willy-nilly for no reason whatsoever when you get to that level. There's more to think about than just a support stroke resistance on a dominance chart. There's the entire trading environment, which is obviously S&P, NASDAQ, Dixie. There's the environmental factors that might feed into this. So tensions worldwide, black swans potentially. So there's many reasons why you might get to this level and go, oh, hang on, now that we're here, the rest of the trading environment doesn't particularly look that inviting, so maybe I won't do it here. I don't know. I'll have to reassess. So we'll see what happens when you get there. Now we can get here in the form of a Bitcoin pump. We can get here in the form of a Bitcoin dump because altcoins have been left behind for a long time anyway. So let's just focus on Bitcoin itself. So yesterday, just moving back to the daily, we saw a move down. But actually, when you look at the Bitcoin chart, it's not all that bad, is it really, to be honest with you? We're still within this box. We're still above the Bollinger Band itself. We're above the 50 exponential as well, where you could argue that that's where we sort of found our support. The support basically came down to the bottom of the range, so it's still within a range. To be honest, it's not that bad. We're below the center of the Bollinger Band, so we're 65% more likely to be rejected around the 69,000s, but we're 67,280 at the moment. It's not been a horrendous breakdown. if we were to continue to break down, you could target down here at 50,000 where this 200 exponential moving average is. If we take it to a weekly, it's a little higher than that. We've got 52,006 and 54,000. So we've got 20 moving average and 21 exponential. We've also got a 10 exponential here at 62,700. So there's so much support below us still, which would basically come from, looking at this, standing back and reflecting on what we're seeing here. It's still basically an uptrend, really, a big uptrend for Bitcoin, and one that you'd take advantage of. Now let's have a think about what else we're looking at here. So we've got the bearish divergence that we've been more than aware of on the weekly. That's still there. No bearish divergence on RSI. And normally, if you're going to go into we'll call it a bear market, to be honest with you, you normally get plenty of bearish divergence on the way up with the RSI, and we've not had any of that. Look, so the previous parabolic high, high, lower high, and obviously down. So, with each move up. Even the all-time high over here on the previous cycle was just nothing other than another lower high. So it doesn't much matter which way you cut it. Bearish divergence across the board all the way up to the all-time high. So we don't have that. We've only got it on the money flow index, which again is definitely worth recognizing, worth taking note of. But it's not the end of the world. So this is a pullback. It's not a crash. But try telling that to the altcoins. They're absolutely wrecked city. So the 4 hourly on the short-term time frames, what we're going to look at here is obviously we've got the bottom of the range, which we've established was tagged. We've bounced, and so far managed to close mostly above this 200 exponential on the 4 hourly. And the current price of that is 67,000. So if we can stay above 67,000, pretty much all the time now, then we should be looking for this to start to try and trend back up again. Because look, we've done it here, whoosh, we did it here, whoosh. We're trying to do it again here and recognize that this wasn't just Bitcoin that did this. This was S&P, this is stocks, this is NASDAQ, Dow Jones, wrecked. They're all wrecked. And so it's come down through association. All markets trade through association with each other, Bitcoin especially, since we've got our beloved ETF money in it now. So obviously it's going to be absorbed into the system, and the system wants to it's given the impression of the beginning of a consolidation, which is all absolutely fine, because like I said, 80% in cash. Yeah, it's not 100%, but it is 80%, which is pretty sweet. So if we do keep going down lower and we dig our heels into the 60s and into the 50s, then yeah, opportunity will be there for me. But it also, as of this very moment in time, doesn't look like a perfect opportunity. It's not like it's not something I would be like. I woke up and I took one look at and gone, oh yes, this is the moment I've been waiting for. Because it's not. The moment I've been waiting for would be after a longer, deeper correction to take us much, especially altcoins down to much lower prices. That's for me. That would be when I get out of bed and before I even make my coffee, I'd start to look at positions. Not today. I did the live stream last night and recognised that there was a lot of wrecked city charts. However, there was a lot of 200 exponentials on dailies getting tested for altcoins. And so if for whatever strange reason we do start to turn up from here, Captain Hindsight would reflect on those entry points that would have been given to us yesterday on those altcoins in about 2 weeks from now and gone, perfect. Should have pulled the plug. Should have pulled the trigger on those. I'm not, because again, supports do break, just like resistances do break, and because there's a larger force at play, being stocks, indices, and whatnot, then it's made me a little more skeptical about buying an altcoin dip, because an altcoin is really nothing in comparison to the multi-trillion-dollar 24-hour traded traditional market setups. Really, it's nothing. It's literally just nothing. It's a piece of dust floating in front of your face. It's nothing. So you can't really take those charts particularly seriously when everything is turning down. So they're just going to come tumbling down if we do continue with this correction. Now, obviously, it's the weekend now, so there is no traditional markets trading. They closed red. There was a small buyback just before the end towards the end of the close, really. It wasn't strong, but it did move back up a little bit. And so really we're looking at crypto, specifically Bitcoin, this weekend now as the indicator for what's going to take place next week in stocks. Because we've seen this before, and Bitcoin itself is not that small anymore. It's relatively big. And whatever Bitcoin does this weekend, I would say is going to be a leading indicator as to how markets are going to move on Monday. This is kind of common in the first place. We often will see, let's just say a red Friday and then a green Saturday, and then a red Sunday leading into the close, just because people want to take their profit and don't want to be overexposed when markets do finally open on Monday morning and Monday afternoon for us as well, because it's the American markets that really count. So, long story short, really, there's no need to beat around the bush. It does look bad, and it is bad for altcoins, definitely. But for Bitcoin, it's not all that bad. We're holding areas, even on the 4-hourly right now, that are relatively significant. And yes, it was quite quick and quite rapid on that red, on that pullback, on that dump, of whatever you want to call it. But it's not out of character, and we're prepared for all of this. And if it comes down further, I'll be more than happy to see that, because I definitely would rather see a correction in all markets than a continuation. I would much rather see that. I've been waiting for that since December, really. That's when I started to really reduce my positions that I'd taken in a lot of altcoins around October. That had gone up a lot, so we had done some serious trading, 3 months in the market to as much as, I think, at one point 70% exposed, and then started to reduce around December and reduce further over the last few months, literally just doing buy the dip, sell the rip type trades. So now, really, if we are going to consolidate, it might be a time to start hibernating and watch the charts come down over time. Just sitting down, chilling out, watching price action tell us a story of what it wants to do next. Now, the one little sort of side note to all of this is that there is the halving is like next week, or maybe a week today or thereabouts, and so there is something else going on for crypto because of that. So yeah, traditional markets are curling over and potentially going to consolidate now. And Bitcoin will probably follow that regardless. But the halving should have some kind of influence on price action leading into the halving. After the halving, I think it's a sell the news event, really. However, this time is different, so we don't really know. But for me, it's still a gamble and not worth being exposed for that event. My preference is that we consolidate, and if the DIX is going to break out like it is at the moment, cash is still a decent thing to be holding, because even though, obviously from a protective point of view, you don't lose money, but second to that, there is some profitability if you're holding dollars and dollars are increasing in their value, even if it's just by tiny increments. So that's my situation. It shouldn't come of any surprise to you. I've been sort of stressing the point for a while now, that this is what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm kind of waiting for, and if this is what we're getting now, then brilliant. That is a perfect scenario, because hopefully we'll start to see a much deeper correction, maybe by 30% or more for Bitcoin, which would be around 60 or more for altcoins. And if we do find reason to believe that momentum to the downside is slowing and we're looking for a turnaround, then it'll be like it was around October last year, and we'll pick those altcoins back up again, and we start to generate 100, 200, 300, 400% or whatever, just like we did at the end of last year into this year. And that's basically the plan. It's a rinse and repeat. I'm not looking for small trades at this point now. I'm waiting for the big ones, which will be taking place later on if this consolidation does pick up pace and we go down to lower areas. But right this very moment in time, like I say, if you were to look at this Bitcoin chart on the 4-hourly and on the daily and on the weekly, it still looks quite positive, to be honest with you. And I would not at all be surprised to see a full-on recovery on Bitcoin back into the 70,000s and to a new all-time high. If you really want to see that sort of thing pick up pace, you want to see a daily closure above the center of this band. So we're talking 69,500 to play it safe, get above all those moving averages once again for another attempt to break this area, the 71,500, and make its way into the 70s, 80s and 90s. It sounds impossible when you say that now today, because again we've seen a big dump. from the top of the range to the bottom of the range. That's what we've seen. And so it's going to be hard for anyone to accept that anything other than downside is going to happen. But it's not true. It really is not true. I'm not saying this is a perfect buying opportunity. All I'm saying is that actually structurally it's not that bad. It's actually okay. On a, literally from a chart structures perspective, on the higher term time frames, even the lower term time frames, it's not that bad at all. For Bitcoin specifically. For altcoins it's different, but for Bitcoin specifically it's not that bad. It feels bad because I imagine a lot of people have been holding a lot of altcoins and they're feeling the pain right now, and they may continue to feel the pain, because if Bitcoin does break out and go up to its previous high and then beyond, and then trend up to 30% or wherever it's going to take us before it peaks, or at least peaks for now, there's no guarantee that altcoins are going to outperform that. Bitcoin is the driver of this market, has been this entire time. The ETFs have really helped it along, and it's kept the price at this level, which is particularly high. It's very high. It's surprisingly high. We forget how high it really is. But this is not what I would consider to be a breakdown yet. Although it can happen structurally, we're okay. And let's just see how the next few days over this weekend takes us. If we close above 69,500, I would say that actually we're looking to trend back up to the to its previous all-time high, and then higher than that. I don't see this, for Bitcoin at least anyway, as a problem. I actually would just view it as part of the sideways volatility that we should all be more used to than anything else. This is crypto at the end of the day, and it's actually not that bad for Bitcoin. Just from the top of the range to the bottom of the range, we're talking at 8%. That's really nothing. Back in the olden days, we'd be trading ups and downs of 10, 15, 20, 30% sometimes. Just week to week. It's kind of normal. The volatility for Bitcoin is definitely faded for the most part, and I looking at it right now. Again, we are 65% more likely to be rejected from the $69,000 zone, but that's not the biggest odds you ever had in the world. 65%, yeah, it's more likely, but it's not 100% by at all. 65% is the odds are in favor of a rejection, but only slightly. Yeah, it's really not by much. It's not that much at all. So eyes on the prize. The figure is 69,500 for a daily close at that level or above, to then go to a new all-time high. Sounds like hopium, but it's not. It's just trading. It's just statistics. That's all it is. And from a chart structures perspective, Bitcoin's still more or less intact to carry on with this uptrend. I know it sounds ridiculous and people won't believe me. Everyone's going to say, oh, but can you not see? I do see, which is why I started the video talking about stocks and Forex. I do see that. I'm not an idiot. This is how I make my money. I trade all the markets. And I always consider it to be what I call the domino effect. The bigger markets feed into the smaller markets. And Bitcoin and crypto, obviously, is one of the smaller markets. And so if we're going to consolidate for NASDAQ, Dow Jones, and S&P, then we probably are going to consolidate for Bitcoin regardless of the chart structure. It will be dragged down through association with a consolidation across the board. But, if we're looking at it based on face value, it's actually all right. Still, it's all right. It's not primed for a massive breakout, but it's also not primed for an enormous breakdown. We're basically still within the range that we've had established on this chart for a little while now, and we're holding up. And it's nice to see that actually it was the range that it was held, and it wasn't a ridiculous wick or any kind of other anomaly. It's held the range so far, and so if this is the range, we're at the bottom of the range, should hopefully move back up to the 71,500, and if we do get up to that level and close above there, that'd be a decent recovery and a breakout, new all-time high, upper 70s, 80s, possibly into the 90s. But I'm not suggesting you do anything. You're in charge of your own money, not me. I'm not the boss of you. You're the boss. Thanks for watching. I'll leave it with you there. If you want to join the Patreon, there's links in the description. Otherwise, hope you have a nice weekend. Take it easy.